Well, welcome everyone. It is my distinct pleasure to do the intro and welcome to Dr. Emmanuel Awuah. If you have not read his bio, I want to take a brief moment to read his bio and then turn it over to him. Dr. Emmanuel Awuah joined ICC as a strategic visionary leader. And I think today that you will hear some of that in his remarks. Throughout his career in higher education, Dr. Awuah has provided leadership not only for increasing access to educational opportunities, but also for creating effective systems that support, facilitate, promote, and sustain student success in collaboration with faculty, staff, and other stakeholders. And since his arrival at ICC, it has been my distinct pleasure in working with him to get an understanding of how his vision of student success, faculty involvement, and colleague collaboration really works. And it has been fantastic and an honor to sit next to him in meetings and hear some of that. Prior to joining ICC, Dr. Awuah served as Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs at the College of DuPage. Dr. Awuah supervised several areas, including curriculum development and centralized scheduling, assessment of student learning outcomes, program review, academic partnerships, and global education, among others. And if you haven't gotten a chance to speak to Dr. Awuah about his vision of global education and international involvement in education, take a moment and ask him to share some of his thoughts about that. He received his PhD in sociology and urban studies from Michigan State University and his master's in sociology from the University of Duluth in Ontario, Canada, and his magna cum laude double honors bachelor's degree in sociology and political science from the University of Ghana. With that brief bio, it is my distinct honor to welcome Dr. Awuah to his first all-academic meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, Maddie. I've been here for about a month now, and I feel I'm well received, welcomed, and settling in and feeling that I made the right decision to join this great institution. And for all those who are involved in the selection process, I want to thank you for choosing me. I know you had better candidates, wonderful candidates, but you chose me to come. Probably I was the right fit for the institution. So it wasn't a question of you were the most qualified, but it was more to do with the fact that at this time, at this institution, who will come in and be able to work with faculty and to work with all the stakeholders to make sure that we can support the teaching and learning and ensuring that students will get what they need when they come to us. So I want to thank you. I also want to welcome you back. Since I arrived on campus, it's been a bit quiet because without the faculty and the students, you know, this institution, it's almost silent. But some things were happening, but we're really glad that you are back. This morning, we're going to hear about the reports of joint committees in terms of updates, where they are and where they're going for the new academic year. And then I'll make a few remarks in terms of what I've observed and where we may be going. Because what I believe is that by working with you for the next year, I will truly get to know you, and then we can put together an academic master plan that will guide us for a couple of years and we tweak as we go along to make sure that we have a sense of direction in terms of what it is that this institution needs, what it is that students need, and then what it is that faculty and all those who are involved in the teaching and learning, what you need in order for us to be able to forge ahead. And so I just wanted to make these brief comments, and we will hear the reports, and then we can engage and talk about our future together. So again, thank you for welcoming me, and thank you for the opportunities ahead of us so that together we can see our way through and ensure that the vision that we all create together as to what it is that we want academic affairs to do, you will participate in that process so that we can journey together to the destination that is ahead of us. But at the end of the day, I think we are all committed to the success of our students. And that's why some of you have committed 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you are still at it. Something draws you to this place because of a particular commitment that you have. We'll talk about that. That commitment is what we need in order to take us from where we are to the next level of excellence for this institution. With that, I would ask that we have our first presentation, Kate Kaufman and Amy Glass.
Good morning. It's our pleasure today to talk to you a little bit about One Book, One College and where we've been and where we're headed. So, whoa, oops. I said I could do this. I told Joni I could, and then there we go. Okay, so just a little bit of a look back the last 3 years, what we've done and where we're headed in our 4th year. We did Ready Player One the first year, March the second year, and last year was The Alchemist. And we've accomplished quite a bit throughout the year and engaged a lot of students, faculty, and staff. But we're very excited about this coming year.
Good morning. As you can see here, the book that we have this year is called The Book of Joy. And it is a nonfiction book written by the Dalai Lama and Bishop Desmond Tutu. Actually, it's more of a conversation between the two. They have a wonderful friendship. And they get together every year for each other's birthdays. And this book was written along with Douglas Abrams at the event of Bishop Tutu's 89th birthday. And it is basically their conversation about what joy means to them, how we can achieve joy, the idea that sometimes getting to joy may be a little painful first, things of that nature. And we are really, really excited about this. I'm going to hand this over to make you do it. Because we have the Exploring Joy. We are going to try to have some community leader presentations. We have some faculty presentations lined up. One of them, Kristen Jacobson Flex, is going to be doing a Joy of Nature walk for us, and that will be on September 21st. We are also getting Jerry Dietrich Clark to talk about the psychology of joy on November 13th. We have TED Talks. We have picked out a series of TED Talks that will be held both on this campus and at the Peoria campus. Those are good openers for the topic of joy, and then we have discussions afterwards. I just finished talking to Julie Clemens this morning, and the concert chorale this December will be having songs themed on joy. So we're looking forward to that. A lot of teachers assign points to extra credit points for some of these if they attend these, and we'd like to encourage you to encourage your students. We can put links in your Blackboard courses if you want to with that. So we also have literary discussions, and we're going to have some other interactive events. This is a year-long thing, so we are already talking about what we're going to be doing for spring. So, and then at this point, we are actually pleased to say that we've already picked our book for 2018-2019. And I'm going to give you some clues. Now, for those of you who already know, don't say anything, but first of all, you'll notice that we did fiction, nonfiction, fiction, nonfiction, so next year would be a fiction book. The second one is that we've been shooting for several years, and we finally this year accomplished that we're going to have a woman author as the author of our book. And the third clue is that there's an anniversary tied to this book. Anybody got any ideas? Doug, you know it. I know you know it. Go ahead and let's go. Frankenstein. But we've decided that the theme of the book would be responsibility. That, Dr. Frankenstein wasn't necessarily very responsible for what he created. If you really think about it long and hard. And there's a lot of things. Jen Hopp really gave an email to me that was really spelled it out well, and everybody went, well, of course, that makes sense. So that's what we're doing for next. That would be the 2018-2019, so you can start planning on that.
And if you want to know any more about events, see the calendar, look at past archived events, we have some of the presentations from the previous year on our website. Go ahead and take a look at the web address. It's just icc.edu/OBOC, One Book, One College. And with that, we're going to turn it over, to Heather Doty, Assistant Athletic Director.
Okay, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to speak about our student-athlete academic monitoring program. I'm in charge of all of the athletes' eligibility, so obviously the academic piece of things is very near and dear to my heart with my job. Our student-athlete success is based on all of our community here at ICC. You've heard the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a community to raise a student-athlete, and that community is our faculty and staff here at Illinois Central College. For those of you that don't know, we have 10 teams here at ICC. We have men's and women's cross country. We have men's golf, volleyball, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and softball, which comprises of about 160 athletes annually. Last year, we had 56 of our athletes make the Dean's List, which is a 3.5 or higher. 27 of our student athletes made the President's List. Oh, sorry. Oh, my Lord. Okay, new to the clicker, sorry. I usually have a bat and a ball in my hand, so I apologize. This clicker is new to me. So, on the national side of things, within the National Junior College Athletic Association, which the NJCAA, we had 3 of our teams that we got to nominate for academic honors, which means that they had to have an academic year GPA of over a 3.0. So we had 3 of our teams named for honorable mention. And then we also got to nominate 27 of our athletes as academic All-Americans. They had to have a 3.6 GPA for that academic year. So as you can see, our student athletes perform very well in the classroom. Last year, our GPA through the whole entire athletic department was a 3.053. So with that, we thank you for all of the effort that you give to our students. Of our 61 sophomores last year, we have 55 of them that are on to 4-year schools for this fall. We have 6 of them that are completing their degrees here at ICC, whether it be in the dental hygiene program, the nursing program, or just completing another semester of academics. So thank you very much for all that you do for us. Oh, going the wrong way again. Good Lord. Okay, with the restructuring that's happening, that seems to be the common theme this year. We ask that you communicate with Dr. Tracy Morris, who is our Vice President of Student Services, if you start to see a breakdown within the academics of our athletes. As soon as we finalize things, we'll definitely communicate that with you. Please know that all of our student athletes sign a consent form to release their academic information, so we are not violating any of the FERPA laws. Okay, here's how the system works for us. Each semester, our coaches assign study hours for their teams. Each of our coaches have their own requirements for this. These study hours are to be completed on a weekly basis in the studio, the math lab, and the learning lab. And if you have not had an opportunity to see those new labs upstairs, it's awesome that they are all together and in one place for us. And so through the year, the progress reports are used to help identify where students are struggling, different areas. We redefine and tell them, maybe you need to spend 3 hours in the math lab this week instead of 3 hours in the studio or vice versa. Okay, these progress reports are typically sent out 3 times per semester. This allows us to get the information out quickly to intervene with a student. And it's not only for that struggling student, it's also for that student that wants to maintain that 4.0. Our coaches do grade goals with our student athletes, so then also with those progress reports, we can make sure that we are in line with all of that. We understand that professional opportunities in the real world for the vast majority of our athletes are not professional sports, but they're going to be utilizing the degrees that they are earning. Okay. Over the past year, Professor Dan Kelly and Ethan Hedman have worked very hard about streamlining the process of progress reports. In the past, you got one email for each athlete in each of your classes. So if those of you that have numerous athletes, you're getting 10, 20, 30 emails 3 times a semester, which is a ton of emails, and we understand that. So they have streamlined this process. Now you're going to be getting one Google form for all of your athletes in one spot. So hopefully we're streamlining that. Yeah. Yeah, so that, I would say, we knew that it was burdensome, and we knew that it was a long process and a tedious process. So we do thank those of you that have participated in the past. Moving forward, we hope with this streamlined process that absolutely it's a much easier thing for you to do. If you have questions, I would refer you to Dan Kelly, he was on the front end of things, really pushing for this to happen. And do understand that all of the information that you do give to us, whether it's the attendance reports, participation in class, their grades, we utilize all of that information every single time you send it. So there's not any information that's not ever used. And so here, we've got some information on who to contact. With the restructuring, Ethan is going to help us out a little bit, but not necessarily a point person for us. But I do, again, want to thank you for all of the time and effort that you put into our student athletes. And we know on our end of things that they are students first, athletes second. So if you ever have any problems or good things, bad things, please let us know. Don't ever hesitate to contact myself or Sue Sinclair, who's our Director of Athletics, if you have any questions or concerns about our student athletes. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Eric Weber to talk about curricular updates.
I know some of you are wishing or hoping that I said we have no updates for you. We know that's not the case. There's a lot happening with our curriculum. So to that end, we have set aside some workshops to help facilitate that process. So the nuts and bolts first I want to talk about with the curricular updates is today, right after this meeting at 10 o'clock, we're going to have some room set aside to help faculty with questions about syllabi revision. The first one of the rooms is getting started with the new institutional learning outcomes and course level outcomes, and that'll be in room 310A. The second session we have is middle of the process. That is room 307A. The changes you need to make, but need some assistance, maybe with your course level outcomes and so forth. And then all but done is simply how to use and input into CDS, the new CDS reconfigured system. And that will be in 308A. So just come to that particular area. We also have some extra rooms if we have overflow to assist with that process. Tomorrow we have some departmental work sessions. We'll be getting this information out as well, each department, and there's combined departments tomorrow between 8:30 and 10:20 to help with this as well, to work in our various disciplines and departments. We sent out some information last spring at the end of the semester about what we're doing, what we're about. We're going to resend that out because that was last spring. Who knows where it's at right now, especially in our email. Probably like most of you, it gets kind of lost in the shuffle somewhere in our email. So I'm going to be resending that information. So you'll be seeing updates. So please don't put that in the delete file. Open it up, look at it. We have several important items of information pertaining to those updates. I do want to say that a large part of this process has been faculty driven and faculty involved in this process. We've had a great deal of discussion. This has been a very long process of where we're at, of developing where we're going in revising our syllabi and so forth. Don't want to get into any specifics because we'll forget them by the time we leave, so please come to the meetings. Now, just on a personal note, I just want to leave you with a thought about the light bulb that went off in my mind in this whole process. We went through the whole idea of course goals. And I consider myself in the teaching and learning profession. Meet people, introduce yourself, say, oh, what do you do? Where do you work? Oh, I work at ICC. What do you do? I teach there. Next question is always, well, what do you teach? My answer is typically, well, I teach philosophy. Then the eye roll. All right, so, yeah, had to get one in there. But in reality, when I reflect on this, that is my discipline. That's my vehicle. I'm really in the people business. I teach students. I teach people through my discipline. And we all have a passion for our disciplines. And all we ask is that be reflected in our syllabi. So the teaching part of it is the goals. Where do I want to go? But it dawned on me, what do I want students to take away from my class? What are they learning from my class? And I need a way to look at that. So when we're talking about the difference between a goal, shooting the arrow where I want to go, the outcome is, did I hit the target? Where did I hit the target? And that's all we're saying, is think about the process of what I may have a goal, but do I know if my students actually got what I wanted them to get? What is their takeaway? So when we're talking about the change, it's simply from the goal where I want to go to what will students be able to do or demonstrate, apply after they've had my class. So it's not any great paradigm change in that sense, but it is a significant change, especially as a change in our perspective and our thinking. All right, please come to our sessions with your questions, and hopefully we'll have some answers. If we don't, we'll just make something up like usual. All right. Now, next up is student persistence and completion, introducing Dan Kelly and Dr. Tracy Morris. Thank you.
Good morning. Well, as you can see, Dr. Morris is not here with me this morning, and that's okay. I became the co-chair of the Persistence and Completion Committee last spring when Andrew Bonifacini decided it was time for him to step down. Unfortunately, Andrew couldn't be here this morning either, but I did want to publicly thank him for not only his leadership, but he also really got this committee off the ground, really got it started a couple years ago, so there needed to be a public record of a thank you for Andrew for all of his work. Last year, yeah, please, yeah. Last year, the Persistence and Completion Committee did a couple things. We assisted with the Math Bridge pilot evaluation, which was really just Kelly Thanem, but she's on our committee, so we'll take credit for it. We also, as Heather alluded to, we made improvements with the progress reports. So we've seen those a lot with athletes. They're going to become much more frequent with early college as well. So instead of getting 25 emails per semester or per round, what we've tried to do is limit it to one email. Here's your students. Here's the section that they're in. That's your unique identifier. It's a Google form. It's the same questions that we used to see in the email, except you just click, 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 and then there's the qualitative box at the bottom. There's also an option to have a read receipt or a copy of it sent to your email to keep for your records if you'd like. Should make the process a lot cleaner. About 5 or 6 faculty piloted it with me in the spring. We worked out a couple of kinks. I think it's going to go a lot smoother. Okay, so that's what we were working on there. We also had these small teaching sessions, which were pretty successful. Thank you to many of you who came to those. We distributed over 65 books. We held multiple sessions, and these are not unique participants, but we had over 150 people come at some point to our sessions. And I thought those were pretty healthy conversations. We put on the on-course training that many of you attended back in May. There was 48 total participants. I think at least half were faculty, if not more. So we got our hands dirty quite a bit. This year, going forward, well, we're going to start today because we have some sessions as well. Carrie Schimmel's on our team. She's going to do a session at 1 o'clock about group work, right? There's the word nightmare in there, so be careful. Paula Alice and I are going to talk about Bloom's taxonomy, kind of piggybacking on what Eric was saying, talking about learning objectives. David Smith and some of his colleagues are going to talk about engaging students. Andrew and I were going to talk about turning on the lights, but it looks like I'm flying solo on that one. So we're just going to talk about how we get the semester started. Jennifer Swartout is on our committee as well. At 3 o'clock, she has a self-awareness session, and then my session at 3 o'clock. Really, the idea there is to create some groups to kind of talk across disciplines about what's working and what's not working in your classroom, and perhaps being able to talk across disciplines outside of your department will help give us some insight. So if you're interested, please attend those. Our committee is set to meet tomorrow, as I know many of the committees are. Really, we were planning on kind of setting our goals. We found that a lot of the work that we were doing over the last year was kind of in line with what the strategic plan was doing, which was good, except it started to become more of a duplication of efforts. So we're kind of going to start from scratch tomorrow. So committee, come ready, okay? And see what our goals might be. But the one thing I can say about this committee is over the summer I was reading a research article by a guy named George Q. I don't know how many of you are familiar with him. He talks a lot about student engagement, success, etc. And he was referring to another article by Alexander Aston, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And Aston said, you know, the persistence and completion rates of your institution really have nothing to do with you. They have everything to do with your students. And a lot of the attributes that make a successful student are already formed in those students before they show up. So with that attitude, we could just say, committee's over, we don't need it anymore. But Q made the point, he said, you know what, that might be true, but there are institutions that outperform the expectations. And those institutions have a positive restlessness about student success. And I think that speaks about our committee, and I also think it speaks about our institution. So I'm looking forward to another great year with the committee. And now I'll introduce Academic Standards, which is Wendy Guth and Kim Vaetti.
Good morning. Wendy is here. She's right there. You might have to wake her up because they've been moving downtown to Peoria and they've been living there. So, wake her up every once in a while. Your Academic Standards Committee has continued with the process of finding other measures to determine college readiness and placement into transfer classes. We really need to give thanks to the Six Sigma team led by Jill Wright called the Academic Student Readiness Team, because they've spent a lot of hours researching some very long articles and contacting other colleges to find out what they use. I'm not sure what they're doing since we found out yesterday Jill is moving, but we thank you to all of you who've put so much time into this effort. A year ago, we were here and talked to you about AccuPlacer, ALEX, and SAT scores used for this threshold. This past year, we added AP credit, IB scores, as well as the GED readiness test. In addition to that, AIT, with the help and leadership of Stacy Gehrig and Jennifer Swartout, is starting a cohort looking at high school GPA as a threshold for college readiness. So we'll see what those results show, and maybe we can expand that further in the college. We have also worked to reword the catalog of record. There's the intent, and then there's what the words say, and we tried to make that easier to understand, more well-defined, so students as well as guidance counselors can help with that comprehension. As for this next year, what we currently have on the docket is revisiting the grievance procedure for ICC to ensure legitimate complaints are handled appropriately. The last thing that's going to be coming out real soon is we've talked for a year about what do we do with all that stuff in our office, all the tests, all the attendance rosters, every piece of paper that we have hidden under our desk or shoved on the side. Or real talent, I walked someone who had it floor to ceiling. That's real talent. So keep an eye out. Tracy Morris is going to be sending out information about what you need to do with those papers, how long we have to keep them, and when we can finally dispose of them. So keep an eye out on that. We don't want to overwhelm everybody today, but it will be coming out very shortly. If you have questions for our Academic Standards Committee, please contact Wendy Guth or myself. And next up for assessment is going to be Adam and Brian.
Good morning. I have been elected co-chair of the assessment committee after Sarah Parlier stepped down at the end of the spring semester, and we all know everything that Sarah did was amazing, and so even though she's not here, I do want to thank her for getting this to where we are now. So last year on assessment, we did a lot of work, and you'll be able to come and hear more about that in the work sessions that Dr. Weber mentioned right after this. And we're going to be able to help you understand where the ILOs fit in your courses and how the assessment is going to take place. But really what we're going to be looking at this year with the ILOs is we're going to be creating a subcommittee. And in the past, we've done our gen ed assessment, and we're closing that loop, and we're moving on to ILOs, and you've seen the rubrics that we're using. We voted on them, and those rubrics are going to be used with the subcommittee to move forward and assess those across the courses that are being changed over this semester. So we're going to get that up and running in the fall, and we're going to start assessment in the spring. One of our goals this year is to start using the assessment that we're doing and getting that feedback back into the classroom, back to you. Make sure that we're closing the loop and using the assessment that we're doing. The processes are in place. Now we need to make sure that we're using what we have started. A good example of this is last year when we were doing the program level assessment. The October deadline, we got a lot of feedback on the information that we provided in the process, and due to that feedback, we went and we changed what we were doing, and we created several subgroups that went along with the departments and really worked to get the program level assessment in line with where it needs to be and providing feedback as needed. So just continuing that process, revising it as needed is kind of where we're headed with those two forms of assessment. Adam will talk to you about others.
So this past academic year, the assessment committee piloted a project we called Collaborative Assessment Projects, or CAPS. Many of you participated on those. We had CAPS in pretty much every department throughout the college. Our intention was to make course level assessment more meaningful to faculty. And it's our belief that one of the best ways to improve our courses and to have continuous improvement in our courses at the course level is to do it collaboratively, to do it together. When we investigate and look for issues in student learning together, I think we find better solutions, and we are able to improve the learning process for our students. After we piloted the CAPS last year, we asked for feedback from people who had participated on those CAPS. This summer, we had a committee that met to look at the feedback and to make some revisions to that process. There were some issues with the timelines and some of the guidance, and so we've changed the way the CAPS really function. Today at 1 o'clock in 216B, we're going to have a breakout session where we go over that. So if you're interested in doing a CAP or participating on a CAP this semester or this academic year, please come to our session and we will inform you of the changes that we've made. In addition to course level assessment, like Brian said, we will continue working on our plan for assessing the new ILOs, our plan for sharing what we learned from those assessments, and a plan for using the results to improve student learning in the areas of communication, reasoning, and responsibility. We look forward to working with you all this year to improve student learning in our classrooms and the quality of our instruction. It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce and welcome James and Paulette to talk about general education.
Good morning. Almost 20 years ago when I arrived here, this college was in the process of creating their first general education goals. Last year, we began work on yet another phase in helping our students learn, and we began the work on developing institutional learning outcomes. We did this through multiple workshops with faculty and discussion within the committee. In addition to coming up with and distilling these ILOs down to just 3, communication, reasoning, and responsibility, the faculty also provided definitions of each of these. And last, but certainly not least, we worked with the assessment committee, leading to their development of the creation of the rubrics that would be used to assess these. In this way, faculty knew more of what we meant by these goals than perhaps had occurred when the general education goals were first introduced. We continue to learn. These materials were presented last year to faculty for a vote and approved for implementation. And it is during this year that we begin that process of implementation of the institutional learning outcomes, along with the course learning outcomes that align with these goals. The ILOs will be implemented for any course that qualifies for general education credit towards graduation. A schedule for submission to the curriculum committee should be in email to you, or if it's not, it will soon be. And you can also find that information in handouts that will be available in a workshop that's occurring after this meeting. Non-general education courses could begin to plan to submit similar ILOs and CLOs in the spring.
Hi there. So one of the chief differences between the ILOs and the Gen Ed goals is that we're all responsible for this. While we're launching with general education courses, it's the ideal that every course would take a look at these and try to see how their course fits into the overall institution. I want to go back to the presentation we had from the library because there's a great example of co-curricular use of the ILOs. Frankenstein, a great novel, but you'll notice what the theme was, responsibility. It ties right into our responsibility ILO. And so it's not just Gen Ed who are responsible for this, it's everybody, because this is about student learning. And students learn everywhere. Students learn every time they come into an office. They learn walking down the hallway, and not least of all, they learn in our classrooms. So I want to applaud the library for taking the point on this and showing us that, yeah, maybe I'm not a general education class, but I can use an ILO. I would also like to thank all the members of the General Education Committee, the Assessment Committee, the Curriculum Committee, and all the faculty and staff and administration, and not least of all Margaret Swanson, who's not here, who have helped take this from sort of an amorphous dissatisfaction with the general education goals into the point we're at now when we're implementing. So just thank you, everyone. So I mentioned that the ILOs are student-centered, and that is really the key here. This is about student learning and about how we're facilitating that student learning. They're also more accessible. As you no doubt recall, we had 7 general education goals, which are really 14 or 15. Some people even counted 20 21 or 22 different aspects, which is a tall order for a 2-year institution. So by paring them down to 3 institutional learning outcomes, we can really step up that assessment cycle, and we can really ensure that, yes, our students who graduate from ICC actually do meet all of these ILOs. They're achievable. As Eric and as Paulette mentioned, we're starting with general education. There is a 3-step phase this semester, but as I pointed out originally, I want to encourage everyone to look at these ILOs and see how their courses fit in, because they're broad enough where I believe, and most of the people on the committee believe, that you can in fact tie these in. This will be parts B and C in the CDS system. You need to make sure that you align at least one course learning outcome with an ILO. Again, you can do more than that. You can overachieve, of course. Also want to repeat the invitation that Eric extended, that we will be doing work sessions immediately following this. So no matter where you are, even if you're like an ILO, never heard of it, we have a session for you. If you're knee-deep in it, we have a session for you. And if you're somewhere in the middle of the process, we have a session for you. The answer to the question, should I be interested in ILOs? The answer is yes, you should, because we all are. Thank you. Now, to introduce Nick Graff and Wendy Guth, Professional Standards.
Hi, I'm Wendy Guth. I'm the Dean of Health Careers. Boy, has it been a summer, I tell you. Gosh, we've been working so hard. I took over for Wendy as co-chair of Professional Standards. And I'm going to start by saying that Nick and I are shooting for shortest presentation, so let's really try to stick to that, Nick. The Professional Standards Committee is here to answer any questions that you might have. We have had people who've emailed us and said, hey, I have a concern about this thing that's going on and whether or not there's any ethical issues with that. And so that's typically the kind of stuff that we handle. If you have any issues that you'd like us to look at, please do let us know, and our committee will take that up as one of our charges. Nick's going to give you an update on what we did last year.
Thank you, Carrie. But first, we have a mom here that dropped her daughter off her first day of kindergarten.
My son.
Your son, I'm sorry. And she needs an awe. And I guarantee you it will be a blink and he'll be going to college.
No, I can't believe it.
It's so, sympathize with Carrie. So what did we take on last year? First thing, our committee has tried to operate to keep academics, us, from getting into trouble inadvertently. So one of the first things we took on was social media and how it relates to FERPA. Several professors offer a social media component of their class. Does that violate FERPA? And because of our work, Dr. Fleege, we got a new social media policy, so we've looked at things like that. One of the other things we talked about was faculty authored textbooks. If a faculty member writes their own textbook and makes that mandatory for their class, are there problems? And we reviewed that. We decided that's a case-by-case basis. If you've seen the faculty handbook, we work with Janice Kinsinger all the time to keep that up to date so it's current on what we're doing, and with the reorganizations, we're constantly updating that. And the last thing we attached, and Academic Standards did this as well, was the retention of documents. There are state laws governing the retention of documents. If you throw a document away that's a public record, you might be in violation of the law. That's why Dr. Morris has come up with some procedures. She did the mass shredding we had last year, but there's still things up in the air that need to be addressed. So be careful when you're throwing away documents. Make sure that it's not a record that's covered by Illinois law, and we're still trying to put that list together. So as a part of that, we're having a session this afternoon on shredding. No, I'm kidding. So that's our report. So Dr. I forget your committee, because I didn't bring my list up. Switch the slides. Academic AQUIP with Dr. Jill Wright and Julie Clemens.
I thought I grew over the summer, but I guess I'm just going to take it off the stand because I'm 5 foot on a good day. Well, welcome this morning. First of all, AQUIP stands for Academic Quality Improvement Program, if you constantly hear that acronym being thrown around at ICC. ICC selected this pathway. We were an early adopter of AQUIP, and we are actually in our 3rd iteration of the pathway. Just a little history of the pathway. The pathway is an 8-year pathway, and we are in the 6th year of our 8-year pathway. Institutions can select to move to a different pathway after they finish their complete pathway. So we have 2 years left. In 2 years, we'll decide whether or not we want to switch to a different pathway. That would be open or standard, or continue AQUIP. In our year of AQUIP, we have a lot coming up next year. It's going to be a very busy 2 years, but let's talk quickly about what we did over the previous year. The previous year was our 5th year in the pathway, and our responsibility during that year was 3 action projects. As you heard from the Standards Committee, the AQUIP Action Project, the development of multiple measures for assessing students, we were in our 2nd year of that. That has been fully implemented. As you're aware, I'm changing positions, but we'll still stay on that project and make sure that we have the numbers that are producing the highest rate of student success possible. We also went through a project selecting, stocking, and securing instructional resources for students. It's textbooks is what it really is. We looked at to make sure that when a student walks into the bookstore, he or she has the correct book or instructional supplies that they're bringing to your classroom. So hopefully you'll see some improvements there. Then we also looked at what you've heard a lot about, early college and the registration process. As you're aware, the team took on the daunting task of assisting students in completing their registration online versus those cards that make us all a little crazy sometimes. And so those were our 3 projects. And then, because we're such high achievers at ICC, we went ahead and took on the strategic planning process at ICC. In fact, I'm sure you've heard nothing about that going on here. I'm just kidding. Obviously, there's a lot going on with strategic planning. And so what will happen over the next year, there's been a change in the pathway. AQUIP wants schools to focus more on a singular project versus 3 projects. So we'll be reduced down to 1 project. And for us, we'll continue on with one of the 5 strategic planning projects will actually become an AQUIP action project. And then this year we have a lot of exciting things coming up, and we might be needing your assistance, but I'll let Julie talk about that.
In our AQUIP accreditation pathway, we are scheduled to submit a systems portfolio in our academic year of 2018-2019, so that's the end of our AQUIP pathway. In addition, we're scheduled for our continued quality review. This review is our reaffirmation of accreditation visit, in which the college will have 4 to 6 HLC peer reviewers here for 2.5 days checking us out. Both of these pathway projects include ICC presenting evidence for the criterion for accreditation in addition to presenting evidence for federal compliance. This year, as an AQUIP Joint Advisory Team, our primary goal is to draft our evidence statements for both of these, for the Federal Compliance Report, as well as the criterion for accreditation. Drafting these evidence statements now allows us to identify strengths and recognize gaps before beginning our systems review, our systems portfolio. This is where you come in. AQUIP Joint Advisory Committee members may be asking for your input as faculty and as academic or student support staff because of 2 criterion that reflect what you do. Criterion number 3, teaching and learning, the quality resources and support, and criterion 4, teaching and learning, evaluation and improvement, focus on evidence you may have and is important that you share with us. So be ready for members to be coming to you asking details and evidence of what we do in our daily work. If you have any questions about our accreditation process, please don't hesitate to ask either Dr. Wright or myself or any AQUIP committee members. Thank you. And now I would like to invite Dr. Awuah back to the stage.
Thank you. Please, would you join me in thanking all those who've served on these committees and those who've led these committees, because the work that you do is important. Thank you. Let me make a couple of remarks before we leave here. I just want to bring up the idea that our relevance and significance and our contribution as an institution that serves the needs of those who are in our community there has never been a time in which our work has become so important. We all know the changes that are going on around the globe. Businesses, industries that are making decisions that impact the economies, the workforce, and the well-being of our citizens. And therefore, it has become very important for us to look at the fact that in spite of all these changes going on, this institution continues to be a place where individuals can find hope for themselves. In other words, we have become the last and the best hope for most of the students who come to us. And therefore, the work that we do as educators has become very, very important. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that in the 1800s, there was a legislator who thought about how do we provide access to affordable quality education for all classes of society. And that led to the Morrill Act, which brought about land grant institutions. And if you look at the act, the primary purpose was to provide access to affordable quality education to the industrial classes. Some of the institutions that were established as land grant institutions based on its mission have become so elite that the industrial classes cannot even afford to attend them because of the academic standards as well as how much it costs to attend these. And so I see community colleges as assuming this land grant mission of ensuring that every citizen, every individual, irrespective of your background, if you have a desire to learn, we will open our doors to you for you to come in. Whether you come in here for one class, or you come in here for a credential, or just for personal enrichment, we are available to provide that opportunity for you. That's why I say the work that we do has become even more significant in these days, because a lot of people are looking for opportunities. Opportunities that I call a bridge. This bridge, which is the Golden Gate Bridge when you go to San Francisco, It's quite expensive, it's quite strong, and is built to last. And I see our institution as a bridge for people who are in high school looking for an opportunity and saying, you can use this bridge because when you come to us, we have opportunities for you. Workers who have been displaced and are wondering what is going to happen to them in terms of providing food for their families and even beginning to think about their future. They are looking for a bridge that they can use in order to retrain and to make sure that they will have access to affordable quality education and go back to the workforce. Businesses and industry are also wondering how can they help their employees to catch up, to gain the necessary skills and the knowledge and the abilities that will help them to be competitive, and in so doing provide jobs for individuals within the community. Those who are in our community and are saying, look, I'm interested in just reading or trying to find out more about something that they are interested in, they look to us for such an opportunity. And then when they've come to us and we've prepared them, they still use the same bridge. We help them out in going back to the places where they came from so that they could find better opportunities. The challenge we have in this 21st century is the fact that by the time we finish training these individuals, by the time they gain their credentials and are about to go out into the world, what we are finding is that the skills and the knowledge and the abilities that are needed, those ones that we've given them have almost become obsolete because of changes in technology, changes in the workplace, and the skill sets that are needed. And so the challenge we face today is the fact that we are preparing our graduates, our students for jobs that do not exist today. Think about it. We are preparing them for jobs that do not exist today. Because what employers do is the fact that due to all the global forces and restructuring of the global economy, they have to make specific decisions in terms of where they can find workforce. And they don't care if their headquarters is in this region, in this city, and they can find workforce in China, in Mexico, in any part of the world. They will leave at any time and go. And I have seen it myself in Syracuse, where Carrier Corporation, which had been in town for a long, long time, and it's amazing that the coldest place in the United States will be the place where we'll invent air conditioning. A time came when Carrier decided that it was checking out of town. Right now, when you go to Carrier headquarters in Syracuse, what you find is grass. They've removed everything. You might not even find a marker as to the fact that Carrier was in town, apart from Carrier Dome at Syracuse University. They've gone to China, they've gone to Mexico, and all over the world. I'm bringing our attention to the fact that much as we are dedicated to teaching and learning, we need to put that in context in terms of the challenge we face in preparing our students and our graduates for the 21st century economy. But I know for sure that we are up to the challenge because we've done it for the past 50 years. And I know for sure that we can also do it for the next 50 years in preparing our graduates and our students for the next 50, so that the individuals who come to us, the individuals who look to us as a bridge, will still have hope and come to us and gain the skills and the knowledge that they need to go out there and to compete for the remaining jobs, to go out there and become entrepreneurs so that they themselves will be able to employ other people. All in all, the goal is that we will be able to have an educated citizenry to promote democracy as well as the economic upliftment of our community so that individuals will have decent jobs and in so doing be able to have a quality of life that is far better than what their parents pass on to them. With that said, I want us to welcome the new faculty who have joined us. We have Jeff Jones in AIT. Jeff, where are you? Jeff? Jeff is not here? Okay. Ron Alberston. Ron? Okay. Zach Flynn. Zach? All right. Zach is here. Okay, next. Brad Rose, Math Science Engineering. Welcome. Colin Campbell, AIT. Colin, I saw you this morning. Colin? Okay. Vincent Stroh. Vincent. Okay. Next, Sharon Samaroth, Health Careers. Is Samaroth here? What did we do to these new folks? Okay, I'm going to talk to the deans. Okay, Jim Davis is the Associate Dean for Health Careers. Welcome to Illinois Central College. I believe that you've made the right choice, and your colleagues here are going to grant you the support and give you all that you need to survive, get tenure, and stay with us for the rest of your professional career. One of the things that I find about this institution that is wonderful is the idea that when we have new faculty, we have a mentoring program which would hold these folks, surround these folks, and help them, guide them to be successful. It's one of the few places that I have found the mentoring program as part of the tenure process. And for that, I applaud this institution for doing that. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. So I believe that you are recharged, energized, and then you are ready to kick off the 50th anniversary celebration of this institution. But I want you to join me in this salute to the brave souls and visionaries who came together and realized that there was a need to build a bridge in the community in ensuring that individuals who were willing to learn, looking for opportunities to learn, and that every individual has the right to learn to develop their talent, and that every individual should have the skills and the knowledge with which they can participate in the global economy. Those individuals came together and started this institution. I've been looking at some of the pictures, and it's amazing the transformation that has taken place up to this point. Would you join me in saluting these individuals and for all who have contributed to ensuring that this bridge will be strong, will be steady, and will be one that is durable for now and also for the future. Please, let's give thanks for all those who have made this possible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now this is our heritage. This is our charge, to build on it, to make sure that we fix it when repairs are needed, to continue to make it strong and to serve the needs of the community. So let us look at some of the things that I believe in the coming year we can work on together. I call them priorities, things that we believe are significant, are so important that we need to continue to pay attention to. And the first one has to do with collaboration. Since I'm speaking mostly to educators, I just want to stress the fact that much as most of the time we do this work by ourselves, you go into the classroom and then you shut the door, it's between you and your students. We don't have to do this work in isolation. I truly believe in the idea of collaboration, of sharing ideas, of working together. And therefore, I just want to know you and the work that you do. I want you to know me and the work that I do. Because the work that I do and the work that you do, we need to work together. And my primary purpose for coming to this institution is to support and celebrate the work of faculty and students, period. Whenever I wake up every morning, my antenna goes up. What is it that, Emmanuel, you can do today to support faculty in doing their job so that they can support students in learning and be successful in the classroom? But we need to collaborate and realize that our work is co-joined to ensuring that we can support our students to be successful. We need also to learn about some of the things that work, some of the things that do not work. And so I've asked the deans to look at their departments and figure out the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, the challenges, and perceived or real threats to the disciplines that come under them so that we will be aware of what it is that we need to do. And so in your departmental meetings, when the deans talk about the SWOT analysis that we've done, please, we want your input, because we believe that by learning across all the departments what is going on, what is working and what is not working, we can collaborate in finding solutions to the challenges that we face as educators so that we can provide students what they need to be successful. I'll also be counting on you as I listen, as my doors are open to your ideas in terms of ensuring that we can develop an academic master plan to guide us as we all journey into the future. Second, we want to talk about quality academic programs. This is a wonderful institution, but I just want you to know that people do not come to this place just to take a look at our buildings and all the facilities that we have. People come here specifically because of you. They are looking for opportunities to develop their talents and their gifts and their abilities. They believe that you have what it takes for them to get the skills and the knowledge that they need to be able to go out there and be competitive. They've put their faith and trust in you to make that happen. And therefore, we want to make sure that our academic programs are of the highest quality. We want to be known as a place where you go, not because you have nowhere else to go, but it is the place that you go because it is the place where you get the best quality education that you can ever think of. And we know for sure that you can do that. Looking at this room, the talents that we have, the resources that we have, the PhDs that we have, the master's degrees that we have, you are an incredible asset to this institution and also to the community. You are the ones who can build quality academic programs for the community. We want to make sure that we offer viable and relevant academic programs. We want to hire, develop, and retain highly qualified, credentialed, and experienced faculty. HLC expects us to do that. And so the deans have been going through credentials of our adjunct faculty just to make sure that anyone who is teaching for us meets the standards that have been established by you, the faculty, so that we have individuals who are highly qualified, credentialed, and experienced who will stand in front of our students and work with our students. This is not a question of suspicion about the qualifications of anyone, but when HLC visits, they want to make sure that we are complying with that. It's not the highest qualification that they are talking about. They want compliance with the standards that we have established ourselves. Not from HLC, not from ICCB, but we have established that we are in compliance. And in some cases, we are discovering that some individuals do not have the credential established by you. And so we need to work with these individuals as to how they can keep up and make sure that we as an institution, we are compliant. We want to also ensure that our academic programs would increase the persistence, the retention, the success, the transfer and completion rates that we have at our institution. And so whatever might be going on within any academic program that might not allow students to complete, we are not blaming the academic program, but we want to make sure that if someone is in a particular program and the person is interested in pursuing that program, whatever challenges that they face, whether it's math, whether it's writing, or whatever skills that they need, we want to be able to work with you to ensure that we can identify these students, you can identify these students, and send them to places where they can get the support. So this is not a blame game. I do not believe in that. It's working together to identify these students and providing them the support they need. We want to make sure that our academic programs have enrichment activities. The honors program should not be an isolated program for only the privileged. We want to make sure that we have courses across the curricula so that all students will have access to honors courses and be able to participate in that. We want to see service learning. We want to grow service learning activities, learning communities. We need learning communities. I don't know whether we have them, but they are very important to the educational enterprise. Internships, co-ops, apprenticeships, so that when a student leaves ICC, that student has more than course grades. That student has been exposed to enriched academic experiences that would supplement and augment the skills and the knowledge that they've acquired throughout their stay with us. We also want to make sure the academic programs, particularly the CTE programs, we can improve the licensure exams passing rates. That every student who has gone through any of these programs who has to sit for an exam to obtain the license that will enable them to find jobs, we will identify the challenges that some of these students face and to work with them so that we can improve on that. And then we want to make sure that all the programs that have to go through accreditation will be successful in them. Because if you do not get an okay for your accreditation, it means that that program is in danger. And we want to make sure we give you the support and all that you need to ensure that all our CTE programs that go through accreditation, they will be successful. I strongly believe in quality instruction. We want to ensure that faculty have the tools they need to do their jobs well. The resources that you need, we need to figure out what it is that you need to do your job well. So, yesterday, Dr. Kwek-Bailey mentioned that we're going to invest in technology. I've heard at least $2 million will be going into technology resources to enhance quality teaching and learning at this institution. I know because of the budget and some of the challenges that we're facing last year and previous years, I think it's about time for us to reinvest in the use of technology. One of the interesting things about technology is the fact that the generation of young students that we have sitting in front of us know more about technology than we do. Whenever any technology issue comes up in the family, you check out who we ask to help out. It is these young people. And they are coming from high schools sometimes that have better technologies than we do. I haven't checked all the high schools here, but I've seen some institutions where the high schools have better technologies than we do. And so when the students come to us and they find out that we are using some antiquated, old-fashioned technology, they wonder, what's going on here? And so we want to do better than the high schools in that regard. We also want to increase the number of smart classrooms via the Technology Master Plan. There is a Technology Master Plan, and incrementally, we are adding on the number of smart classrooms. It doesn't mean that if you go to a smart classroom, it makes you smart. You've got to be smart before you go there. But it will make your life easier in terms of having everything in one place, and you don't have to sweat on that. All that you need to do is to learn how to use that and focus on the teaching itself. We want to promote innovative teaching and learning. And so I'll talk about faculty professional development. It's very important for us to have different ways by which we can reach the diversity in our classroom in terms of learning abilities of the students. This is one of the challenges that we have, that of those who cross the bridge, who come to our classrooms, we are not like the elite institutions that will pick and choose which students will be in our class. We are saying that our doors are open. And so you look at the classroom, you have different levels of abilities of our students. The A students and those who need grace to pass your course. But we have to teach them both. So what are some of the innovative, creative ways by which we can reach all students and help them to be successful? I want to go back. Okay. Okay. All right. We want to integrate PeopleSoft and Blackboard. And I know that a committee has done a great job. And is Patrice here? Patrice and her committee. Please, let's give them applause. They are working on that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to make your life easy, because that integration is long overdue. And so it's going to happen. And the recommendations have come, and we're going to move forward with that. We want to offer online teaching training opportunities for those who want to engage in online teaching. And in that case, we will continue and promote online faculty fellows program that you already have. I support that. And also expand the virtual academy of students who want to obtain their credentials or complete courses online. Whether it's going to be certificate or the associate's degree, we want to offer that opportunity for students. Now let me talk about professional development, because it's going to be exciting. So let's move to professional development. We want to make sure that faculty will continue their renewal and professional growth. And so we want you to go out there and learn as much as you can and bring back new ideas. So I'm pleased to announce that in this year's budget, the faculty travel funds are back. They are back. And we have several sources. We have about $40,000 for faculty travel, and Perkins is going to chip in $20,000 for CTE programs. And with all the new strategic plan and achieving the dream and the strategic goals and strategic directions, the president, Dr. Quick Bailey, also has some funds for faculty who want to go out and learn about ways and means by which we can be innovative in our offerings and supporting students to be successful. So all in all, together, we have about $100,000 in various pockets to support faculty professional development. I truly believe in that because I have benefited from that to the point that my institution was willing to allow me to go for a full year through the ACE program, paid for, to allow me to renew myself, to discover myself in terms of my own professional growth and career. Now, the suggestion is that we should find a way by which we can divvy up the money so that we reserve about 50% of the funds for the fall semester and the remaining 50% for spring and summer. Because I understand that there is always a mad rush for money in the fall, even when the person is going to travel in June of next year. In other words, if you are traveling in the spring, you don't have to rush because some money will be reserved to take care of the needs of those who will be traveling in the spring so that we have about half of the money for fall. We're going to test this out. If we find that nobody is going to travel in the spring, I think we'll become wiser next time. But some people have complained that sometimes if they don't compete for money right at the beginning of fall, then they might not get some funds later on. So we just want to make sure that this happens. We also have funds in departmental budgets to support professional association membership and licensure. And so in accordance with the contract, each of the departments, particularly for those who are in the CTE programs, we have some funds for you to continue your membership in your professional associations. Perkins funds, always available. And one of the things that we might be doing this year is that we want to promote externships for faculty to be assigned to a business or industry and spend maybe a semester there to learn about some new gadgets, new ideas, new skills that you could bring back to the classroom. It's all part of professional development. We are thinking about it, we are working through it, and we're going to need your input as to how we can design it so that faculty can go out there and spend some time with business and industry or where they want to go to learn about some of the new skills so that they can bring that into the classroom. We want your involvement in professional development, planning, delivery, and assessment. And so we'll be working closely with the Teaching and Learning Center in terms of ways by which we can redesign faculty professional development. We'll need your input as to how we do it. But I need your involvement so that we can assess what the needs are and what kinds of topics, what kinds of issues you want us to design workshops around so that it will be beneficial to you. Okay. Continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is very important. How do we move from a culture of compliance to a culture of continuous improvement? That is the challenge that we are facing. Right now, for most institutions, when it comes to continuous improvement, we are stuck in terms of compliance. Program review, let's do it. and let's put the report on the shelves, and let's satisfy, institutional research, let them send it to ICCB. How do we take time to reflect on the report so that we can use the data to learn more about ourselves and ensure that we can close the loop, all the gaps that we have identified, all the systems that we have that are not working, so that we can then begin to see what needs to change, and in so doing, promote continuous improvement. So this is an area in which I want us to work on. I'm waiting for a report, the program vitality process that was started last year. I believe the committee is at the point of giving us their conclusions and their reports in terms of how can we use that process as a way in which we can promote continuous improvement. It's not for ICCB, it's not for HLC, it's for us. How can we look at ourselves in the mirror and use the data to say, this works, this does not work, this program needs this help in order for it to be able to achieve its goals and outcomes. So let me talk about global engagement. I started my address by making you aware of the fact that we live in a world in which global forces are shaping a lot of the things that we do. The question we have is, how do we prepare our students, our graduates, to participate in the global workforce? And employers are telling us that they are looking for workers who have cross-cultural understanding. They're looking for workers who can work in teams, diverse teams. And so how do we ensure that the teaching and learning will integrate and incorporate multicultural, international, global learning outcomes in our curricula to ensure that they don't have to take specific global education courses in order to get it, that we're going to hit them all over in health careers, in business, in any course that they take. And so how do we develop these goals and outcomes and ensure that faculty will have the capacity to be able to integrate them in the courses that they teach? This is something that we need to work on, and that every student who comes through us, and I don't know whether it's one of the institutional learning outcomes, but for me, students in the 21st century should know more about their world because we have the means and the capabilities to enable them to be able to do that. With that said, I just want to make sure that everything that we do will point to this. This is why we are here. That every student who uses this bridge and crosses over will be successful. And so we're all going to be involved in developing guided pathways. We're all going to be involved in developing a first-year experience. We're going to improve the augmented remedial education. We want to make sure that we have integrated and impactful academic support services for our students. The early college program to give students a leg up, to expand the bridge program that Joe has begun. Joe, we want to be able to build on that. Thank you for leading that effort. We want to consider alternative approaches to placement tests or exams so that we have different ways in which we can welcome students to our institution. We want to finally improve these metrics: persistence, retention, success, transfer, and completion rates. And finally, I have a salute for you. And my salute is that we cannot be successful as an institution without the work that you do. I talked to you about the pioneers, the brave, courageous souls who started this institution. We have received the torch. For the past 50 years, this institution has been a wonderful asset in the community. We want it to continue to be the Golden Gate Bridge for this community so that we can give opportunities for every individual who comes to us and says, I want an opportunity to transform myself. We would say, you are welcome. And so I applaud you for the work that you do, and I believe that with the coming semester, we can work together in challenging our students and giving them the best education ever in their lives so that they will have the knowledge and the skills, the abilities and the habits of minds that they need in order to live, to compete, and to thrive in the 21st century global interconnected community. Thank you.